All right. Welcome back to the Living in Costa Rica podcast. Today is, in my opinion, probably the most important topic you need to know about. You need to learn, you need to hear, as I would say, without a doubt, every single person that comes to Costa Rica struggles with this issue. So today we're talking about adapting to living in. Hey, if this is your first time here, why don't you move closer into the. If this is your first time here, hey, excuse me, if this is your first time here, I'm Alan Richard with Living in Costa Rica and the Off Grid Homestead in Costa Rica. This is my co host right here, Rebecca. And look, we've been living in Costa Rica for over 10 years. We have moved all over Costa Rica, living in over 25 different houses and locations. And because we have lived in so many different places, we've had to adjust. We've had to adapt. And so, before I get started, what I want to tell you is that for every person that's coming, a lot of people, they have a dream of living in Costa Rica. However, if you're not careful, then Costa Rica could chew you up and spit you out. But it's important to understand that every dream has a price tag, okay? And the question you got to ask yourself is your dream worth it? So for every anything worth having is worth fighting for. And if it's not worth fighting for, well, then maybe this is not the dream that you need to pursue at this moment in time of your life. But I can tell you that regardless of anything that happens, good or bad, in Costa Rica, for us, not a single bad thing has happened. Nothing has happened that hasn't been worth it for us. While there's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons. There's not enough cons to say that, it's not right for me. It's not right for me. Now, there's in my honest opinion, there's very few reasons why maybe it's not right for you. There are some legitimate reasons, but today we're going to be talking about the most difficult thing about living in Costa Rica, and in my opinion, that is adapting to life in Costa Rica and why. This topic today, I was really inspired to do this topic because I saw a video of a young lady who struggled, and I'm going to give bits and pieces and clips today. And I want to share them with you and maybe discuss some of those things. And then we're going to have questions and answers. And that way I can address some of these issues. Okay. So before we get started, Rebecca, did you have tell us from a woman's perspective, did you have challenges adjusting to life in Costa Rica?
I did, but not the same as what you did. So, excuse me, the sun, the glare is bad on my eyes.
Hang on one second. Let me adjust the light right here because it's probably.
I don't think it's coming.
You don't
from
think
there.
It's there?
No, it's coming from.
Oh, it's the glare. Okay, so it's not okay. So anyway,
we swapped places, and so now I'm not.
All right, so I want to share a couple of clips here with you, and we'll talk about them as we go. But before I do, what I want to say is that for this particular woman that is going through these issues, if you happen to be watching, I want to encourage you to, hey, reach out and contact us because, Rebecca and I have been here for over 10 years. And, hey, anyone that watches our channel, you're welcome to look in the link below and schedule a free 20-minute conversation, a free 20-minute phone consult. Can talk to you about whatever questions or comments that you might have about being in Costa Rica. And I especially want to reach out to this person because I'm going to share some clips. And you know what? We went through it. We challenges. And so if you happen to be watching, or if you happen to be watching a replay, I want to encourage you. I feel for you. We've been there. We've done that. And I want to encourage you to reach out and contact us because it is difficult to adapt. So let me share the first clip, because if you're not prepared, if you don't know what to do, it can break you. So let's
You broke me. Maybe this is the bottom of what I can take, you know? Maybe I can't take anymore.
This woman, her channel is called Growing Gringa, and it's really a very fitting title for her channel because obviously she's from Canada, and it's Growing Gringa. She's having to learn, and in every part of life there are lots of challenges. And you know what? At this moment in time, it feels like Costa Rica has broken her. Okay, and I think almost every single person will get to that point in their lives where it feels like Costa Rica is breaking you. And I want to encourage you, Growing Gringa. Hey, look, Costa Rica is worth it. Don't let Costa Rica break you. There are some challenges, but you can work through those challenges. And I'm telling you, we've been there. I was there at that time when I thought it's not. It's time to go back. It's time to go home. It's time to go back to where I'm from, because whatever thing that was breaking me, it wasn't worth it at that time. And you'll go through some of those issues. Okay. So she was going through some tough times, but how long did it take for her to get to that point? Because that time is different for everybody.
So I've been living in Costa Rica for a year and 5 months now. It's so hard. The days go by so fast.
A year and 5 months. And she and on her video, she talks about how she was on her property. So she's actually bought a piece of property. She moved on that property. She's been here 5 months. And she's, look, the days go by fast. They do. They're just like this. And part of that reason that the days go by so fast is, what do you think, Rebecca?
Well, there's only 12 hours of daylight most days. So, it's the same from day to day, 6 hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah. And so you only have like 12 hours of daylight.
Because of where we're located at in correlation to the equator and where the sun's at, our days pretty much stay the same. The sun rises at the same time and it sets at the same time within just a few minutes. And so you have that same 12-hour days, whereas, maybe Canada, maybe other places in the United States, because of the time changes, it does seem like you have a lot longer. However, what does make the days go by so quick because there's so much to learn. There are so many challenges. And so, the days can go by very, very quickly. So there's just so much to it.
But the hard part is learning to live in a foreign country.
She's absolutely right. That's the number one hardest part about coming to Costa Rica. Anybody can move to Costa Rica. You can move anywhere in the world. But once you get there, the hard part is actually adapting to life in Costa Rica. Man, there is a lot to learn. And, it's kind of like having children. Whenever you have kids, they don't come with an instruction book. And you've got a lot of stuff to learn. When you come to Costa Rica, there is no instruction book. However, there are things that you can do to get prepared, okay? And Rebecca and I made that mistake. We didn't do any research. We weren't prepared whatsoever. And that was a challenge for us, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was an adventure. I wouldn't advise anybody to do it, but it was quite the adventure. But we could have gotten into a lot of trouble. We persevered but went through a lot of tough things that we maybe wouldn't have had to go through.
Absolutely. If we would have been prepared, I can tell you that I probably, because the first few years I was pretty bitter. I was pretty mad at some of the things that we did have to go through, or challenges. But hey, I'm big on accepting responsibility for my part. I wasn't prepared. It was my own fault that I wasn't prepared. Now, looking back, had I known what to do to get prepared, it would have made a lot of these challenge so much easier. And here's probably the number one thing we could have done. And I can honestly tell you that it wasn't available then, but it's available now. And I don't want this to sound like a promo or sales thing, but out of all of the struggles that we went through, Rebecca and I now host with two other excellent people. We now co-host a relocation retreat, and in this relocation retreat, it is an absolute crash course to helping you get prepared to come into Costa Rica. You learn everything, practically everything that you need to know in order to be here. Now, had I known or had something like that been available, 100% I would have gone to it, because not only would it have prepared me. I kind of like to liken it to, you sitting there, you're watching the news, and you're told that, hey, there's fixing to be a hard freeze. Well, what do? You start getting prepared. You make sure that you've got, depending on where you live at, you make sure that you have the fuel, whatever you need, so that you can adequately heat your house. If a tornado or hurricane's coming, you make sure that you've got gas in your vehicle in case you have to get evicted, in case there's an emergency. You get prepared for things, and then that way, if something happens, you're ready to rock and roll in the event something tragic happens. Okay. Well, it's no different when going to Costa Rica. By going to a relocation retreat, you are getting prepared. You're getting the tools that you need so that when you arrive in Costa Rica, then you're equipped. And what are those tools? Well, first, you have the knowledge of knowing, hey, some of these things that they talked about at the retreat is going to happen to me. But when it does happen, I'm prepared. For example, if you don't have the right attorney, then when it comes time to buying a piece of property, then you could easily get scammed. Okay. You can easily get overcharged. And gringo pricing is just very, very, very common in Costa Rica. However, if you're aware of it, then you can be like, something don't sound right about that. Oh, that don't sound right? I mean, that's normal. And so now you're taking that person's word instead of get some references, get more than one opinion. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says that you have this problem or this issue. Well, then, hey, you don't want to trust the first doctor. You want to get another evaluation. You want to find out. You want to be prepared. So don't just take the first person's word for it. Get equipped, get prepared. And, it's exactly what she says here. It was the learning curve is very, very difficult. Now, here's another thing that
moving on to 4 acres of land in a foreign country is not easy, and doing it alone makes it even harder.
Moving on to a piece of property in a foreign country isn't easy, and doing it alone makes it even more and more difficult. If I'd have come down here by myself, while I probably would have stayed, what made it easier is that whenever I got mad, whenever I got bitter, I could complain, or I could vent is the word. I could vent to Rebecca. Same thing with Rebecca. If there was something, she could vent to me. Because I'm a Marine, because I've got experience moving around, I could let her know that, hey, what you're going through right now is normal. It's culture shock. You're not used to the culture. And so you just got to take some time to adapt. And if you can adapt and overcome, then guess what? You can pursue the dream of living in Costa Rica. You can enjoy life in Costa Rica, but you're going to have to understand that what you're going through is normal. And so you need someone that you can talk to. Right now, growing gringa, she's doing it alone. That in itself is a challenge. So when you're by yourself like her, hey, what can you do? Well, you can do a lot of things. You can get connected with other people. You can get into other communities, other groups. We have a private community. Hey, it's a whole $10 a month, but in that private community, the whole point is that in that private community, you can connect with other like-minded people that are here in Costa Rica, and you can talk with them. You can chat with them. You can private message. You can get connected with these people, and you can find, hey, what did you do when you ran into this struggle? In a private community like mine, well, probably the most important thing is that you have one-on-one access to Rebecca and I, to where if you've got a question, then we can answer it immediately. I can't answer questions on how life in Costa Rica is like for a woman's perspective, but Rebecca can. I can tell you all kind of things from my opinion, because I have a lot of experience in a lot of areas. How do you do this? How do you do that? And I can share with you how I overcame, how I adapted. But, Rebecca can share with you from a woman's perspective what she has to do, or what she did do. So, you can get into other Facebook groups. However, what I have found is that in a lot of Facebook groups, wow, man, some of these Facebook groups are loaded with gringos that hate life. I mean, my gosh, you say one word or you ask one question, and it's like the generic topic is, Costa Rica is probably not for you. You should probably leave. Go home, gringo. I mean, it's like, come on, people. I'm looking for some answers. I'm looking for some help, and all you can do is be negative. So you do want to be like very careful about what Facebook groups you get into. And then you get into some Facebook groups where it is. I mean, so what I'm talking about is I'm comparing free Facebook groups to a members only private Facebook group where you're paying $10 a month. You don't have that kind of challenge in my group. I'll have a free Facebook group, but even in my free Facebook group, I hate Facebook because there's so many distractions, and I'm constantly throwing out trolls, constantly throwing out people who get on there and ticos who get in there and they're just trying to sell their property. It's not just ticos, it's gringos, it's everybody. So I'm constantly wasting time throwing trolls out of my group. So hey, I'm thinking about closing down that group because it's more work and it's just not worth it. But in my members only group, there's never anyone trying to sell you anything, and it's somewhere. It's a place where you can actually get help with one another, and it's there to help one another. It's there to talk about how you can live in Costa Rica and get advice on, hey, who do you use? I need a plumber over in this area. I need someone that might could do this in this area. Do you know somebody? And you can actually get some help. So anyway, if you're by yourself, it is a challenge. It doesn't mean that you can't come alone, but you do need to have that support system, even if it's the ability to have good internet and call family at home and talk to family. Now, I got to say, though, sometimes it's not a good idea to call family, right? Because a lot of family, they don't want you going. They're like, why are you going to Costa Rica? Don't go to Costa Rica. I know my own family, they wanted me to come back, and I can't blame them. They want grandpapa to be back to look at the grandkids, to spend time with sometimes your family is your worst enemy. They don't want to be happy for you going to Costa Rica. They want you to spend all your time with them, and they're busy with life, and you wouldn't have that much time with them anyway. So what I want to say is you got to have that support system if you're here by yourself, and whether it's a Facebook group, a members only group, other like-minded people that you connected with. If Growing Gringo would have gone to our relocation retreat, she probably didn't know anything about it. I didn't. Well, then she could have met like-minded people. And you know what? It's never too late. We have people that's been in Costa Rica, been here, and they still go because of how valuable it is. Okay. Enough about the relocation retreat. I don't want it to sound like a sales pitch, but what I'm saying is you're connecting with like-minded people and you're able to discuss and help one another.
See, I don't think that you should apologize for talking about the relocation retreat. You're not trying to sell. The whole reason we doing it is to help people. I mean, you have to get paid. You have to be compensated for the cost of it and so forth. But, it would have been very useful. And I understand what you're saying about sometimes calling family can lead to giving up because they want you to go back. They kind of don't want you to stay because the family can be worried about you.
Yeah.
Concerned how you're going to how long were you going to stay there? You know? And so,
Yeah. Mhm. So well, and you're right. The reason we put the relocation retreat together was to help people, but it does cost us thousands upon thousands of dollars to actually put it together. And obviously, there's no way that we can do it if we don't get compensated, so that we can get reimbursed for all of the stuff that it takes to do it. And not only are you learning there, but you're having just so much fun. And really, the most important thing is all of the contacts, all of the connections you make, all the relationships you make is wow, the thousands upon thousands of dollars we could have saved if we would have had those contacts when we came.
yeah. And just the knowing the trouble we could have saved ourselves. Something simple like just being prepared. If we would have talked to other people that already lived here. I mean, we did some research, but we researched the country itself.
We didn't know much about anything else, did we?
Right. Not really about living here. We researched statistics, I suppose, is more what it was. And if we would have, a simple thing like, well, like right now I'm experiencing allergies because there's burning some leaves and stuff. But I have allergies to mold and mildew. Should have known that was a problem here because of it's the rainforest, a lot of it. Had I thought about that, maybe would not have gone down to San Vito like we did initially, because it was the end of rainy season, but rainy season was still going on. Down in San Vito, it is very much rainforest. So the hotel that we had reserved for the first night, we opened the door to the room, and the smell of mildew just overcame me. And I was like, I can't stay in this room. There's no way. I'm gonna have a headache. I'm gonna have a sore throat.
I mean, it was an immediate. I mean, as soon as you walk in the door, it was like hitting a brick wall. It was like, has this room been open in months? I mean, it was pretty horrible.
That was
wasn't it?
an issue with going down that way.
Far, right?
Yeah, because that area is not touristy. The hotel, no telling when the last time that room was rented out. So they only had 2 hotels in the whole area. So part of the advice that we give now is, if you're going to come, we suggest the San Isidro area to get yourself acclimated. There's still a lot of conveniences. They're used to it's not touristy, but they do have hotels and things like that. Probably hindsight should have gone initially to a touristy area.
You think so? Why do you think we should have went to a tourist area?
Well, because people would have been speaking more English. We came not knowing any English.
No, not knowing any Spanish, right?
Spanish. Sorry, not knowing any Spanish. So we went straight, got off the plane, got a rental car, and went straight to an area that is not touristy at all. And so there was hardly anybody that spoke English. I mean, it's a Spanish-speaking country, so
of course, right?
So that would have been a little bit, at least for the first night, at least to get acclimated a little bit,
Right. It would have been, which, I mean, if we could go back and tell our younger self, hey, look, we could have avoided a lot of things. I mean, we could have come from San Jose, maybe into San Isidro del General in the Perez Zeledon area, or even better, like you said, maybe if we would have been somewhere around not far from Jaco, and we could have talked to some other people where it would have felt more, not as difficult, not as challenging, right?
And we didn't realize how challenging the driving was. We didn't know how the roads were not marked well, and it's better now. But when we first came, I mean, we went up an entire mountain that was just S curve after S curve, winding, and
there was no paint in the middle of the road, right?
And barely enough room for two cars. So it was very dangerous. It was very stressful. You know, we didn't realize that there were not that many gas stations because it was a very rural area that, you know, and we almost ran out of gas.
Yeah. I mean, and
we thought there was going to be a gas station. Hindsight, we should not have tried to drive straight from San Jose. We should have stayed in San Jose at least for the first night.
right.
You know,
There was a lot of things that we could have definitely learned because, you know, in the United States, there's a gas station on every corner. Well, you're driving and you're thinking, yeah, there's going to be a gas station at least every other corner. But then, you know, here we're running out of gas and we're going up a mountain and you're thinking we're going to find a gas station. And boy, we were on fumes when we finally arrived in San Vito to get gas. So there's a lot of challenges. So
at the time, you know, we didn't know that most people were buying their gas from like not from a store, but from an individual
in that particular area,
yeah,
because there just wasn't any gas stations in that area, right? So let me go back here. I'm not sure. Let me see if this was the last video that I shared here.
Yesterday, I think, was one of the worst days ever. You know, the learning curve, so hard.
You know, so number one, she was alone, okay? And now she says yesterday was one of the worst days. She's only been here a year and a half, and that's what happens is that all of a sudden, yesterday is one of the worst days ever. All of a sudden, things begin to, well, let me show you what happened.
Went from one bad thing to the next, you know, car problems, legal issues, stranded on the road, and then coming home and having my dog missing.
So that's kind of what happens when you get to Costa Rica. You know, it seems like, you know, things are going okay, but then all of a sudden, you know, and it just kind of piles up. You know, one day it's this problem, the next day it's that problem, and then it's the next problem. Then all of a sudden, one day it's like, if it can go wrong, it will, and it just piled up. You know, she's like, hey, yesterday was the worst day ever. And then she lists all these things. And then further in the video, she's like, and I don't have electricity. So, you know, it's obviously something happened, and it can be a challenge. And it's kind of like, you know, if you know anything about electricity and you know about breaker boxes, if all of a sudden there's too much load on it, it will flip. And that's what we do as people. If all of a sudden there's too much of a load, we will flip. And that's when we break. And then it's like, it's time to go home. It's time to go home. I quit. You've won. And so if you can be made aware, if you can be prepared, then you will know what is about to happen so that you don't flip, so that you don't break. Okay. And, you know, I mean, look, she's been here for just a year and 5 months. So she bought a piece of property after only a year. And, you know, we always tell people, hey, look, live in many different places, go, you know, rent here, there, and another. And if you do that for at least a year, maybe longer, so that, you know, and I always say at least a year. Why at least a year? Well, if you do it for at least a year, then you will at least have gone through all of the rainy season and all of the dry season. And you go through a whole season of 1 year to be able to kind of understand a little bit about what 1 year can bring to you in your life. But then as you move around to different locations, you know, you're going to find out that, hey, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't like it at the beach because it's too hot and you're just kind of like sticky every day. Then you move up into the mountain. It's like, wow, you know, it's not, the humidity is not nearly as bad. I'm not sticky all day. I'm not sweating as much. You know, try these different areas and you're going to find out how, even though Costa Rica is such a small country, the atmosphere, the
climates, there's microclimates.
Yeah, the climates are so different in so many different areas. And because Costa Rica is said to have at least 12 microclimates, I think they have more, then you will find it's, I mean, where we're living at, wow, the temperature is so very comfortable where we're at. Because, I mean, look, you know, at our coldest right now during the summer, it was like 55 degrees. We woke up in the morning, and at our hottest, it's kind of been not even 80 degrees, so we're in this kind of perfect temperature. So, it's, things are going to pile up on you, but here's what's important. When things pile up on you, it seems like you can only see bad things. I mean, everything seems to be bad. So let me show you.
It's so dangerous here at night. It's dangerous during the day. The roads are dangerous. The weather can be dangerous. The plants are dangerous. The insects are dangerous. Some people are very dangerous.
And you know what? Everything that she's saying right there is right. But whenever all of a sudden things pile up on you, everything is dangerous. So here's what's going through her mind right now. Yesterday was the worst day ever. I thought my dog was gone. Thank goodness she was able, a neighbor helped her to go find her dog. But here's what's going on in her mind. Plants are dangerous. Insects are dangerous. People are dangerous. It's dangerous at night. It's dangerous. Everything's dangerous. I think I'm going to go back. If when bad things happen in you, then you begin to just focus and focus and focus. You begin to relive every day as she could relive yesterday as if it was today. And if she continues to focus on that, every single day will be a bad day. I know. I did that. I did that for a couple of years. Every single time a Tico parked behind me and blocked me in, I couldn't understand it. I'd get so mad. I'd be like, dude, I mean, there's two empty spots there. Why aren't you parking in an empty spot instead of parking behind me? Every time something bad happened, I would get so mad and I would relive it. Whenever I got taken advantage of it and a Tico, cheated me out of, $11,000, I kept thinking, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you do it? This is money I worked hard for. I kept reliving and reliving and reliving. And before you know it, the only thing I can think about is, I just don't know if Costa Rica is right for me. I think it's time to go home, So when things are piling up, what's the best thing you can do? When things are looking so bad, what's the best thing you can do, Rebecca?
Focus on the positive, which we helped each other to do. So that's an advantage to coming with someone else, because you and I don't share the same struggles,
Like Rebecca said, we don't share the same struggles. Rebecca, after she began to adapt, Rebecca realized that she was kind of Tika and didn't know it. Okay. She has always been late for everything. And even though she doesn't like that about herself, in other words, that slower pace of life was pretty normal for her. Now, for me, I'm just a get it, go, get it, go, get it, go. And I needed to slow down. Okay. So like she was saying, we had different struggles. And so we could vent to one another. We could help one another. We could help each other to remind ourselves to focus on the positive. There's been a lot of negative things, but the one thing that really helped me, because I knew, we knew that we was eventually going to find us a big piece of property. We knew that we would eventually build us a place. We knew that eventually we would eventually be to where we could control our environment. And I say that all the time. If this is your first time watching me, and this is the first time you've heard this, you need to write it down. CYE. When you are able to control your environment. If you can control your environment, all of a sudden things begin to get so much better, because now that you can control your environment, you're like, okay, I don't have to put up with a ton of things. When you can control your environment, you don't have people coming onto your back porch to steal your shoes, to steal your propane tank. When you can control your environment, you don't have the neighbor with 15 dogs beside you that's just barking constantly and keeping you awake at night. When you can control your environment, you don't have that teenage kid or the grown adult that's playing their music and they turn on the speaker so loud that you can hear it. And for them, they're like, hey, let's party. My neighbor don't have to play his music because he gets to listen to mine. Yay, yay. They're not trying to agitate the hell out of me. It's normal. And so that brings me back to the number one thing that will make a humongous difference and what will prepare you the most when coming to Costa Rica, okay? Well, number one, the most important thing that you can do is actually to be at the relocation event, okay? And we talk about this at the relocation event. The number one thing is for you to be able to understand the culture, okay? Understand the culture. Because just like growing gringa, you know, she's, I didn't get that clip, but at one point in the video, she's like, and then you've got these scammers, you know, it's like every time you turn around, they're trying to scam you out of your money. They're giving you the gringo price. They want to, you know, they want a piece of, they want your money. Okay. And but you have to understand why. Okay. Number one, the culture, the majority of the people are poor, especially if you compare how much money they make on a monthly basis compared to how much money you make, then you're rich. You've got way too much money in their opinion, and they want some of it. Okay. And that's not right. That's not right at all. But that's now not all of them. Okay. There are some genuinely good people. We have some really, really great neighbors, but we live in a very, very remote area. And I just have to say that they're not the normal kind of Ticos. Okay. This whole area is not the normal kind of Ticos. But from having traveled all over Costa Rica, you know, there's a lot of Ticos. No matter where you live at, there are bad people. But because the majority of them are poor, then they're doing whatever they can to get an extra buck that they didn't have to earn, and they're trying to get it from you. Not all of them. Okay. There are some genuine people that are there to help you. However, there are a lot of people that are going to try to take advantage of you. But if you know that going ahead, right, you're now prepared to say, oh, okay. You know, so here's a great example. No matter where you go in the world, there's going to be poor people, and there's poor people that'll come to you asking for money. Can you help me? I'm hungry, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, my heart goes out to some of these poor people, and we're always trying to give. Okay. However, in Costa Rica, you will see it all over the place. However, even where you don't see it, you got professional beggars all over. One time I was going to a bus stop. Okay. Now look, I'm looking at the bus stop way ahead of me. There's a bunch of Ticos there, and they're all talking, having a good time. That's what Ticos do. Okay. I mean, they're all talking. I didn't see a single beggar there. But as soon as I walked up, this guy, he wasn't poorly dressed or anything, walks up to me and he starts begging for money. Like, well, wait a minute. I just got here. You're begging for money, but you wasn't begging for money until I got here. And after I told him, Lo siento, sorry, I don't have any money, he left and he went right back to talking. Blah, 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 blah. Wait a minute. You see, that was a professional beggar. He didn't need any money, but what he saw was dollar signs. He saw a gringo walk up and he saw dollar signs. And so he immediately was like, hey, this gringo's going to give me some money. He didn't need the money. He's a professional beggar. And you've got a lot of professional beggars. He's a con artist. That's what he is. Okay. And you have a lot of that. But guess what? Now that you're more equipped, now that you know that, you can say, wait a minute. I was watching this video with Alan and Rebecca, and they told me about these kind of people. And so now you got to use a little bit of sense and say, wait a minute, is he a professional beggar or not? Because look, there's professional beggars that we've seen come up to us in San Vito. He had this, a urine bag tied to his leg, and he's like, and he's pointing to it, and he's like, he had a plastic Ziploc bag tied to his stinking bag, and he made it look like he had issues. He didn't have issues. He was a professional con man is what he was. And everybody knew it. And some of the locals Ticos told me about the guy. Be careful. He's just a fraud. Okay. So you got people that will do that kind of stuff, and you just need to be aware. But now that you're aware, then you can say, okay, use some discernment and say, is this person really need help, or is he just a professional con man? Okay. Now look, I see a lot of comments that are in here, and I want to be sure to address some of these, but I'm going to be sure to address every single one of these comments either toward the end or when we go right into the Q&A session. Okay. So I want to let you know I am going to address these comments. Okay. But let's go through some of these things that I want to share with you. Okay. So anyway, as I go through here, it's important to understand the difference and understand the culture. And so, as a Marine, every time we got ready to deploy or go somewhere, we were told constant, our very first thing we did was we were sent to classes to understand and learn about the culture. Okay. So it's just, so tell me, Rebecca, what was probably, you said that, you know, coming to Costa Rica and being in the mold and the mood, that was a challenge. What were some of the other challenges that was tough for you to adapt to adjust to?
Well, it's because of where we went. Had we gone maybe to the beach, the white, found the pristine beaches and so forth. But anyway, let's see. Going where we did, it was a poorer, undeveloped area of Costa Rica, and that was a little bit challenging to me because the like the grocery stores were very dark and dingy, and all that has changed, and it depends on what section you go to, but that was something that I had to deal with because I'm used to shopping at bright you know well organized, clean grocery stores, and so these were little what they call them potpourris.
And the potpourris is tiny convenience store.
Yeah,
It's usually in the front of someone's house a lot of
it's
times.
usually just somebody's house, and that has a front port that is a store. So that was a little bit difficult for the shopping because that's something I do, the shopping. I guess another thing was later on when wanting to get my hair highlighted or colored, or because my hair is so light, most people here or have dark hair. And so that was a challenge. It seemed like no matter how much I explained, I even got a friend that spoke good Spanish to try to explain. They weren't prepared for how quickly my hair would take the color. So I don't even bother going to the
local hair salon.
Yeah, I just do it now my hair is my natural color, but I was coloring it red a few years ago. So I would just wait till I went back to the United States and go to my beautician.
Now, before you go on to that, that's the majority of the places, because like she said, all their hair is dark. But if you go to San Jose or you go to a beautician where there are a lot of foreigners, tourists, well, then you might get someone that might have a little more experience. So it's not that you can't find someone that can color your hair or cut your hair. You have to say, well,
but it's where we were living.
Right.
So, I didn't want to drive 6 hours just to go to to a hair appointment. And yes, I have found somebody like in Estorrillos because that's a touristy, it's more gringos live in the area. So, but that I guess was just not being able to find the products that I'm used to. I wasn't expecting that. But there's a solution to, like we joke about, money fixes a multitude of issues, but those things I wasn't prepared for. It was hard at first that we couldn't order anything like from Amazon. We didn't have an address. We didn't understand how that worked. The shipping cost is so high,
crazy high, right?
We didn't at first know, and these are all things that you can learn at the retreat, but something like we didn't know that there was a rule against having any cosmetics, supplements, like vitamins, stuff like that, hand lotions, perfumes. So I remember that first time I couldn't find, like, for blonde people,
All right. It looks like I'm not sure what's going on here. Uh, okay, it looks like we may be back. Yeah, it looked like for whatever reason our internet was off for just a moment, which is odd, very unusual.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing. The internet was something, again,
Huge challenge, right?
again, because we went to a very rural area of Costa Rica. There was not the internet that we're used to. The stuff that we found out online was, oh yeah, Costa Rica has good internet, and
well, when we rented that place,
yeah, they told us, yes,
oh, got good internet.
And I still worked online. You were still working online, and so we needed
to have dependable internet.
Right. I was actually able to go because I didn't need as fast internet as you did for the work that you did. But that first month that we were here, my goodness, we had to wake up, get on the motorcycle, drive down to a restaurant and order breakfast, to be able to use their internet. And that was a hassle, but we were told that there was internet. So that was something that took a lot of getting used to.
Yeah. It's, so there's, and still to this day, depending on where you want to live at, internet is still a problem. Now it has gotten a lot better. And now, as most people know, you can now get Starlink in Costa Rica, and we have Starlink, and it's usually very, very dependable. Seldom ever does it go out like it just went out for a moment. And of course, Starlink is still brand new. So, we really can't expect that maybe as they make adjustments and stuff, but hey, they're putting up more and more satellites. But I can tell you that right now with Starlink, well, guess what? We used to have to pay $250 a month to have barely any internet. And now, with Starlink, if you get Starlink in Costa Rica, I think it's only 33,000 colones, about $66 a month. A humongous difference in price to have something that is extremely good, extremely dependable, and the customer service is bar none better than any internet provider that you're going to find in Costa Rica. And that brings up another challenge, because in Costa Rica is non-existent almost everywhere. Now, some people, I got good customer service. Well, yeah, if you got good customer service, it's probably because you was in a touristy area. It is rare. There are some places in touristy areas that you might have some decent service, okay? So those are just some, but it's rare, okay? Costa Rica is not taught about customer service, okay? So that's, they don't understand that, where, in the United States, look, they are watching, and if your drink gets low, they're coming. If your water gets low, they're bringing you more. In Costa Rica, it's like they bring you a glass of water when you get there, and if you don't flag them down, you might thirst to death, okay? If they bring you your food and set it down and you need salt, that you got to go chase them down. It's like, I brought you your water, I brought you your food, eat and get out, okay? And that's the attitude, okay? So it's very, very different. And those are all things that if you're aware of them, you can be prepared. The most important thing for you to understand when it comes to adapting to life in Costa Rica is to be prepared. Now, I want to say something, but I want to preface it before I say this, okay? Because I don't want you to take it the wrong way. We watched what Growing Gringo said, and you know what? I think it's so important. I want to bring it up again. Watch this. Watch what she said. This is important.
You broke me. Maybe this is the bottom of what I can take, Maybe I can't take anymore.
Okay. She says, you broke me. Now, just prior to that, she was saying, I was thinking, Costa Rica, you're not going to break me. Costa Rica, you're not going to break me. Well, you know what? Costa Rica didn't break her. What actually broke her? Now, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, and let me explain. What broke her were the Ticos in Costa Rica. That's what broke her, okay? You see, when we're in the United States, we're used to our culture. We're used to our people. We're used to the way things happen. So it's easy to go day to day, day to day. Well, in Costa Rica, if you're not used to the culture, I don't care what excuse it is. And I've watched video after video after video of why I left Costa Rica. I left because it was too expensive. Okay. I left because the bureaucratic red tape. I left because every time I turned around, I was getting the gringo price. Well, where were you getting the gringo price from? The Ticos. Where were you getting the bureaucratic red tape from? The gringos, the Ticos. Where were you getting the bad highways and it's unsafe? The Ticos. Every excuse you have, with the exception of maybe one or two, it's because of the Ticos. Now, does that mean the Ticos are bad? No, it just means that it's different. It's a different culture. Everything is slow because they value family first. They don't value making money. So if they decide they want to close down, if they're in no hurry. So whenever I go into the grocery store and I'm walking down the aisle and then I got two carts coming toward me, none of them are going to move. They can see me coming, but they're not going to move. Why? They're not even thinking about it. They don't even see me. Ask them, excuse me, and I used to be bad. I wanted to run them slap over. Well, they're not in no hurry. And so it's like you almost have to run them over because they're not thinking. You have to understand it's the way of life. They're like, what's your hurry? So understand that every single problem you have, Costa Rica is not going to break you. The locals are what's going to break you. So my point in that is focus on the dream. The reason you came to Costa Rica was not for the locals. You did not come. Nobody I know says, I'm going to Costa Rica because I want to integrate myself with the local people. I love them so much. I want to just live in their community and learn everything. No. The reason you came to Costa Rica was because the beautiful mountain views, maybe having so many beaches, having the ability to buy on a beach, being able to just slow down, being able to grow a garden 365 days out of the year. You have a reason as to why you're coming to Costa Rica. And when bad things happen, okay, when difficult circumstances come upon you, you've got two choices. You can either complain about it or you can learn from that difficult circumstances and you can focus on the positive. If you begin to focus on the positive, and whenever you're getting a bad service, whenever something bad happens, then focus on, okay, well, look, when I can control my environment, I can sit here and where we're at, we can get out and guess what? I don't have to worry about any of those things. I can enjoy life in Costa Rica because I've got these phenomenal mountain views. I can walk 20 minutes down the road, sit next to a beautiful waterfall, watch nature and watch the animals, watch the wildlife. You've got to focus on the positive. And if you'll continue to focus on the positive, you can enjoy your dream of going to Costa Rica. Costa Rica itself is not going to break you. What's going to break you is going to be the people. And so and I'm not saying Ticos are bad, because if Costa Rica was full of people exactly like you, the same thing would happen. If Costa Rica was full of nothing but Americans, well, we wouldn't have beautiful Costa Rica. We'd have concrete jungles everywhere. So my point is, focus on why you're coming to Costa Rica. Now, a lot of people say they want to be integrated into the culture and they want to, be integrated and learn more. And that's okay, but that's not the reason you're coming here. The reason you're coming here is so that you can really just enjoy that sexy Costa Rica that you've heard about. And that's the important thing that I want you to get out of what I'm saying, okay? The people are what's going to break you. But when you can control your environment, then you can control the people. See, I know that when I go into town and we go shopping, it's like, Rebecca, we don't need to go on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because that's when people are off and it's going to be jam-packed. And, the people, they're nice, okay? But, they're not like I am. And I'm trying to just get in and get out, and they're just enjoying life. Boop, 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 so I just have to know that, okay, I don't want to get aggravated. So I'm going to go when there's not a lot of people and I can get what I need to get and I can still enjoy life. And if I do get aggravated, I try not to focus on it. And I try to focus, well, hey, it's okay. Hey, at least I got what I got. Now I can go home and I can enjoy life. We can have coffee at our place and enjoy the mountains, right? And you know, maybe pigs is right. Alan just needs some hash and get on Pura Vida time. You know, for some people it is more of a challenge than it is for other.
Yeah.
Rebecca didn't
It
have
doesn't
that.
bother me. I, you know, I'm not hurry. It's, you know, so
Yeah,
I like seeing the people, you know, talking and having a good time, enjoying, you know, conversation. They're just not in a hurry. Part of it is your expectations. You know, don't go to a country and then keep comparing it to the country that you left. You know, saying, oh, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. It's not supposed to. It's, you know, I find that a lot of their, like Costa Rica's culture and their ways are similar to, in Europe. You know, the Europeans are very different from how the United States is. So it's not necessarily bad, you know, and, you know, it is a developing country. But they're making improvements all the time. Just since we've been here over the 10 years, you know, things have improved greatly. The roads have improved, but we still try not to drive at night because of the conditions of the roads. You know, they're not marked well. So it's very hard to see. But those are things that if you're prepared and your expectations aren't unrealistic or false, you know, because you've gotten information that gave you a different expectation than what really is.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't think that Sabalito, San Isidro would have traffic jams like they do, but it's like any other city that's growing. It's outgrowing itself.
It's
And
outgrowing
so,
the infrastructure, isn't it?
yeah, you know, we'll be in traffic and we'll be like, you know what, this street, this conjunction needs a red light.
Bad.
You know, they've just outgrown. It's more people are moving there, more stores are being built, and you know, they need to make some adjustments because the traffic is just
That's
terrible.
right. So you learn from that circumstance, right? That's a bad circumstance. So you know what we've learned? It's like, hey, we don't want to go to San Isidro on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We don't go shopping those days. Well, guess what? We don't want to be traveling at 7 to 8 because the traffic going into town is busy. Why? Everyone going to work. Well, get same thing at 4 to 5, 6. The traffic is so bad, congested leaving because everyone's getting off work. So, you know, we learning from those things as to when's the right time to go, you know. Let me go back to Pamela's comment right here. And she says, hey, guys, you're right. Basically, life is what you make it, good or bad. Okay. Knowing good people makes everything better. And that kind of goes back to, you know, what I was saying with growing gringo. You know, if you can get connected with the right people and you can talk things out, if you focus on the bad, it's going to be bad. I mean, look, I know one guy, you cannot talk to that guy without every single sentence, something bad is happening. He's always got something negative to say. Matter of fact, he's so well known about that the locals say he ain't happy when it's raining. He ain't happy when the sun is shining. He ain't never happy. You know, he's well known that everything is negative. Everything is negative. So, you know, life is what you make it, and you just got to focus on it. Now, what I want to address real quick, because we're getting close to the top of the hour. And if you're watching this video right now, then you're going to immediately, when we shut this down, get redirected to the Q&A. And there's a lot of questions here that I really want to address, especially, you know, the question about the cops, a lot of things here that I want to address, but I want to address those questions on the Q&A because I've learned, as long as I've been on YouTube, when people see a video and it's over an hour, they don't even want to watch it. And this topic is so important. I want as many people as possible to get this information. So I'm going to ask you a real big favor. I'm going to ask you to make, you know, when this video ends, I want you to come back to the video. I want you to put comments underneath in the comment section, because you lots of great comments, but I want you to put some comments underneath there. And I want all of you to please join me in the Q&A And I want you to put your comments in there again, your questions, so that then I can address those questions. Okay. And look, I put down here at the bottom, look, don't forget, you can schedule a free 20-minute phone consultation. And look, when you click on that link that's in the description below, it'll take you to a calendar. And then you can schedule that free 20-minute phone consultation. And then, we can help you with whatever questions that you have. Hey, if you know that you need longer than 20 minutes, you can schedule a longer one, okay? And we'll be more than glad to help you. But we're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to shut this down, and I hope I see you in the Q&A in just a moment. All right, folks, I'll see you in a little bit.
Bye.